Okay, I am doing my homework assignment, my story, sharing my story. Golly, it starts with living in a small town. I grew up as the youngest sister of three girls, and my two older sisters are absolutely talented. They musically can sing anything and play the instruments and do all of that. And I grew up always being inspired by their abilities to be on any kind of stage. And being the baby sister that had no rhythm, grew up with this feeling of not being able to do as good as they could. And long story short, I ended up moving to Dallas, Texas, to audition for Dallas Cowboy Cheerleading. And I didn't make the team, but did pretty good. And then I ended up being able to train some of the girls on the team 20 years ago. Anyhow, that was probably my first obstacle growing up, was just having this doubt and having this, I was the chunky little sister that couldn't move for anything. And so there's that obstacle, and somehow I did overcome that for the most part. I still struggle with being nervous and being on stage, but there's something about feeling an energy from other people when you're able to share that energy and get people moving. And so that's what I do now. I've gone on to do some successful things with movement classes and such. But so many obstacles have been in my life. The second big one was when I was in high school. I was 16 and I was just out off-roading with my boyfriend at the time. Super in love, after church, good kids, just country town. I respected my parents, still do to this day, and they trusted me with their vehicle, and we went off-roading in an area that we didn't know of. And he was a country boy. I thought he knew every area, and he did. But we were at the wrong place at the wrong time. And long story short there, I was kidnapped at gunpoint for hours. And I recall one of my good friends contacting my parents saying, is Grace the only Grace in our town? And she's been held at gunpoint. And so, yeah, I ended up escaping and wasn't touched. I knew that he was going to probably do something to me and probably be done with me because he had a gun in his hands. And I, at that point, realized the only thing I had was talking to him and using my faith. So as a 16-year-old little girl, I talked to this man with a ski mask and told him, do you have children, or do you plan to have children? Because I do one day. I want to have kids. And I was 16, but I remember vividly me talking to him and trying to figure out a way to get away. Anyhow, I got away and untouched and back to mom and dad, thorns and glass and everything you could imagine in my feet, and took time to rehab from that. So that was a big scare in my life. The next one as a young adult probably was even bigger than that, which is unheard of. Sounds crazy, but the next thing that happened, challenge and obstacle, was having my firstborn. And being in the fitness and health industry, I take my craft very serious, and I studied the body for so many years, and I ate healthy, clean, danced every day during my pregnancy, super healthy pregnancy. And he decided to come 3 months early, extreme preemie, 2 pounds. So I was a NICU mom for a good 3 months. He came home and he was on a monitor for the rest of that first year of life. And back then, no one was allowed to come visit, very much like now. We had masks on and gloves, and we took care of that baby, and he is thriving. He's a thriving 11-year-old, uber talented young man that's unbelievable, and he's a prodigy. God gave him the gift of music. I'm not crying now. So yeah, he's got an ability with music, and I'll be happy to share about that later, but he's unbelievable. Then I had baby number 2 and a miscarriage between that. Baby number 2 came at 33 weeks, and she's perfectly fine. That was just a month in the NICU, maybe 3 weeks. But I had conquered the things before that and knew that was just easy breezy for me. So kids are doing great and thriving. They are go-getters. And that leaves me to be here with you all, because after that, I've always been a hard worker and got the job. I've had jobs, dream jobs. Went back to my career, and I was the face of a nonprofit for 11 years, pretty much, changing lives in little children's lives, through the form of ballroom dancing, and somehow lost that position. Things changed within the organization, and I was let go, and that was heartbreaking to me. But back then, I thought it was just the end of the world, because I had felt so hard for this organization, and I still do. I am very, very close to the creator of the organization that's international. But I put a lot of heart into that, and I still live that curriculum. So that was one thing. And then now, I mean, I have worked with some of the most amazing people in the entertainment world. But just this last year, decided, because my son's career is taken off, I want to help him, because he's got this ability, this ear for music, and I gave up the job, and I put all my savings into his equipment. And so with that, we went hardcore for the last couple of years. The last year has been every weekend he's got a gig, back and forth, different cities, and so here we are, at a standstill, and I am determined to be that role model, to keep going, and to be that person that my kids look up to. And my son initially reminded me, just in the last couple of weeks, reminded me that I am more than just giving communication and movement classes to women, mostly women, but he says, Mom, you do this for more than just moms. And so he crafted my YouTube cover and changed it from how to be a badass mom to just a badass. So that's kind of where I'm going to go and deliver this. I went extra long on this, but that's pretty much my story, and look forward to meeting everybody and communicating. Thanks for listening.